Have you ever wondered what it truly means to live a life filled with purpose, peace, and fulfillment? What if I told you that the secret to achieving these things lies within you, right now, at this very moment? Welcome to our journey, where we explore the teachings of one of the most profound and transformative philosophies known to humankind, Buddhism. But this isn't just another philosophical dive. Today, we're going to discuss how these timeless principles, rooted in ancient wisdom, can completely revolutionize the way you approach life, success, and happiness. Imagine if you could step into your highest potential, no longer held back by doubts, fears, or external opinions. What would that look like? How would that change the way you show up every day? We're about to delve deep into the 9 life-affirming truths that can shape your mindset, elevate your actions, and transform the very essence of who you are. These truths are not just abstract concepts, but practical, actionable steps that can lead you to true freedom, fulfillment, and a life aligned with your deepest purpose. I'll share insights from Buddhist philosophy, personal reflections, and powerful stories that illustrate how these affirmations have the power to ignite your potential, overcome limiting beliefs, and help you live a life of meaning. We'll talk about how to stop seeking validation from others, how to embrace the unknown, how to stay grounded in your values amidst the chaos of life, and most importantly, how to unlock the greatness that already lies within you. Are you ready to uncover your true potential? Are you ready to walk the path of growth and transformation? Then stay tuned, because this video is the beginning of something truly life-changing. But before we dive in, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're building a community of individuals who are ready to create a life of purpose, peace, and fulfillment, and you won't want to miss the wisdom coming your way. Now, let's get started and discover together how these 9 key affirmations can unlock your highest self. Are you truly ready to transform your life? This question, though simple, carries profound significance. Transformation, whether in our personal lives or in our minds, is something we all yearn for, yet it often feels out of reach. But what if the key to achieving that transformation lies not in external circumstances, but within you? The mind, in all its complexity, holds the power to shape your reality. And with the right mindset and clarity, you can break free from the limitations that have been holding you back. From a Buddhist perspective, every person has the innate potential to transform their life. This isn't just a vague promise of hope. It's an ancient teaching embedded in Buddhist philosophy. Buddhism teaches that enlightenment, or true self-realization, is within everyone's grasp. The path to enlightenment begins with transforming our inner dialogue, the way we speak to ourselves, the way we view the world, and ultimately, the way we navigate through life. The Buddha himself once said, "What we think, we become." This simple yet powerful idea suggests that our thoughts are not mere reactions to our environment. They are active creators of our experiences. Consider the story of Siddhartha Gautama, the man who would become the Buddha. Born into royalty, Siddhartha had every material luxury at his disposal, but he realized that no amount of wealth, status, or sensory pleasure could provide the lasting happiness he sought. So, he left everything behind and embarked on a journey of self-discovery. For years, he struggled with various forms of self-discipline, from extreme asceticism to meditation, trying to free his mind from suffering. Yet, it wasn't until he reached a moment of clarity under the Bodhi tree when he realized that the key to peace and transformation lay not in rejecting the world, but in understanding the nature of the mind that he achieved enlightenment. This story, though ancient, is incredibly relevant today. Just as Siddhartha's journey was one of inner transformation, so too is ours. The key to achieving personal growth and transformation lies within our mindset. If you want to break free from the cycle of dissatisfaction, fear, and limitation, it all starts with shifting the way you think. But what does it mean to shift your mindset? It's more than just thinking positively or repeating affirmations. It's about developing clarity, the ability to understand your thoughts, emotions, and desires in a deeper way. It's about learning to observe your mind without judgment, so that you can act from a place of intention, rather than reacting mindlessly to the world around you. Mindset is like the lens through which we view the world. Imagine trying to see the world through a pair of dirty, scratched glasses. Everything appears clouded and distorted, making it difficult to navigate. But if you were to clean those lenses, suddenly your vision becomes clearer, sharper, and you can begin to see the world as it truly is. Similarly, when we shift our mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility, the world around us begins to open up. The obstacles that once seemed insurmountable become manageable. The doubts and fears that held us back lose their power. But shifting your mindset isn't always easy. It requires patience, persistence, and most importantly, self-awareness. The Buddha teaches that the mind is a garden. If you do not tend to it, weeds representing negative thoughts, fears, doubts, and unhealthy habits will grow. Left unchecked, these weeds will overshadow the seeds of positivity, self-belief, and growth. However, just as a gardener takes time to prune, water, and nourish their plants, so too must we take the time to nurture our minds. This requires consistent practice, meditation, mindfulness, and self-reflection. These practices help us to stay present, to witness our thoughts without becoming attached to them, and to clear the mental clutter that often clouds our judgment and decision-making. When we learn to shift our mindset and gain clarity, we start to see opportunities where we once saw obstacles. We begin to make decisions based on our true values and intentions, not based on fear or external pressures. For example, consider someone who is terrified of public speaking. For years, they've avoided opportunities that require them to speak in front of others. But when they finally decide to confront this fear, something shifts in their mindset. They realize that the fear is not an inherent part of them. It's just a learned reaction. By observing the fear without judgment, they can begin to change the way they approach public speaking. They begin to view it not as a threat, but as an opportunity to connect with others, to share their ideas, and to grow. Over time, their fear diminishes, and they develop confidence. This example highlights an important aspect of the Buddhist path: the ability to transform suffering into wisdom. Suffering is an inevitable part of life, but how we respond to it defines our experience. In the same way that a seed must break through the soil to grow into a plant, we too must face and confront our challenges in order to grow and evolve. The Buddhist teachings emphasize that suffering is not something to be avoided, but something to be understood and transformed. By changing our mindset and cultivating clarity, we can begin to approach suffering as a teacher, guiding us toward deeper wisdom and greater personal growth. One of the most powerful practices to achieve this transformation is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting caught up in them. This practice allows us to develop clarity by helping us become more aware of our habitual thought patterns and automatic reactions. Instead of being swept away by the turbulence of our emotions, we can step back and observe them from a place of detachment. This doesn't mean ignoring our feelings. It means creating space between stimulus and reaction, so that we can respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Take, for example, the simple act of taking a breath. When you breathe mindfully, you are fully present with the act of inhaling and exhaling. You aren't thinking about the past or the future. You are simply here, in this moment. This mindfulness can be applied to every aspect of life, whether you're eating, working, or having a conversation. When we bring mindfulness into our daily lives, we begin to cultivate clarity, and as a result, our mindset begins to shift. We become more aware of our thoughts and less attached to them. We start to realize that our thoughts are not facts, and they don't have to dictate our actions. Clarity is also developed through self-reflection. Buddhism teaches the importance of looking inward, understanding our desires, fears, and attachments, and recognizing the patterns that drive our behavior. Self-reflection is not about judging ourselves, but about gaining insight into the underlying causes of our actions. By examining our thoughts and behaviors, we can begin to see where we're holding on to old habits or limiting beliefs that are preventing us from growing. With this understanding, we can begin to make more conscious choices that align with our true values. A clear mind is a mind that is free from distractions, confusion, and inner conflict. It's a mind that can see the truth of things as they are, without distortion. And when we cultivate this clarity, we become empowered to make decisions that are in alignment with our higher self. This isn't just about achieving personal success or wealth, but about living in accordance with our deepest truths. The Buddhist perspective on transformation offers a powerful roadmap for personal growth. It teaches us that enlightenment is not reserved for a select few. It is available to all. And the journey toward enlightenment begins with the simple act of transforming our inner dialogue. By changing the way we think and perceive the world, we can transform our lives. This process requires clarity of mind, clarity of purpose, and clarity of intention. It's about seeing things as they are, without the distortion of fear, doubt, or attachment. As we embark on this journey of personal growth, it's important to remember that the path is not always easy. Transformation takes time, patience, and effort. But just as the Buddha's path to enlightenment required years of dedication and self-discipline, so too does our path toward growth. The key is to stay committed, to continue practicing mindfulness, and to trust the process. With each step, no matter how small, we move closer to becoming the best version of ourselves. And as we transform from within, the world around us will also begin to change, reflecting the clarity, peace, and wisdom that we've cultivated in our minds. In the end, transformation is not about achieving a particular goal or destination. It's about the ongoing process of becoming. The Buddhist teachings remind us that our true nature is already enlightened. It's simply a matter of uncovering it. And this process of self-discovery begins with the mind. When we shift our mindset and gain clarity, we unlock the potential within us, and we begin to live a life that is true to who we really are. The key to transformation is within you. It's all about changing the way you think, the way you see the world, and the way you interact with it. In a world where we're constantly bombarded by opinions, expectations, and comparisons, the idea of affirming oneself as the best might seem counterintuitive or even arrogant. Yet, in Buddhist teachings, self-love and affirmation are essential steps in the journey toward personal growth. The phrase, "I am the best," is not about placing oneself above others, but about recognizing and embracing one's inherent value and potential. It's about honoring who you are, not in a boastful or competitive way, but with the quiet, deep assurance that you are worthy of love, success, and happiness, simply because you exist. The lotus flower, which rises above the muddy waters to bloom in purity, serves as a beautiful symbol for this concept. In many ways, the lotus represents human resilience and the ability to rise above the muck and mire of challenges, difficulties, and setbacks. The muddy water represents the struggles we face in life: doubts, fears, negative circumstances, and painful experiences. Despite the murkiness of the water, the lotus is able to grow, unfurl, and bloom into something beautiful. The lotus doesn't try to fight the mud or avoid it. Rather, it emerges through it, symbolizing the potential that lies within us all to rise above adversity and discover the brilliance that resides within us. No matter how challenging the journey, at times, people struggle to recognize their own brilliance, often due to the external noise that surrounds them. This noise comes in the form of societal expectations, the opinions of others, and the comparison game that we so often find ourselves playing. From a young age, we are taught to measure our worth by external standards: grades, achievements, social media validation, career success. But these things are fleeting, and they don't define us. We must learn to honor our own worth from within, not based on the accolades or judgments of others. The core of this concept lies in understanding that your value is inherent, not conditional upon the opinions or expectations of others. This is where the Buddhist philosophy of self-love enters the picture. The Buddha famously said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." This teaching is a radical call to accept ourselves, to embrace our flaws and our strengths, and to view ourselves with compassion and respect. Self-love, in the Buddhist sense, isn't about being self-centered or narcissistic. It's about recognizing that you, like everyone else, are a part of the vast, interconnected web of existence. Just as you would show love and care to a friend or family member, you must also show that same love and care to yourself. This teaching challenges the deeply ingrained belief that we must earn our self-worth through external achievements. Instead, it invites us to recognize that our worth is already present within us, waiting to be acknowledged. Take the example of a student who struggles academically, constantly comparing their progress to that of their peers. This student may have a hard time recognizing their own potential, focusing instead on the perceived shortcomings or failures that they've experienced. They might feel disheartened by their grades or overwhelmed by the pressure to succeed, forgetting that growth doesn't always happen in a linear or predictable way. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from teachers, friends, or family. But when the student learns to affirm their own value not based on grades or comparisons, but simply as a person, they begin to unlock their true potential. The moment they stop seeking approval from the outside and start acknowledging their own growth, something shifts. They begin to take pride in the small victories, the progress they've made, the knowledge they've gained, and the fact that they're putting in the effort. Eventually, this student not only achieves academic success, but also develops the inner confidence to pursue their dreams, no longer held back by self-doubt or the need for validation. This story serves as a reminder that self-doubt is not a permanent condition, but something we can overcome when we begin to shift our focus inward. It's crucial to understand that we all have unique gifts and abilities. Just as the lotus flower has its own beauty, so do we. The process of recognizing and affirming our worth requires intentional effort. It's not enough to wait for others to validate us. We must become our own biggest cheerleaders, affirming our abilities, our value, and our potential. This doesn't mean being arrogant or self-absorbed, but rather having the humility to accept that we are worthy of all the good things life has to offer. This inner affirmation isn't about claiming to be better than anyone else. It's about recognizing that our greatness is not in comparison to others, but in simply being true to who we are. It's important to note that personal growth is not a competition, and the journey isn't about outshining others, but about shining in our own way. In Buddhism, there is no need to compete because enlightenment and fulfillment are not limited resources. We all have the potential to rise, to grow, and to find peace and happiness in our own way, at our own pace. The process of affirming our worth can be transformative, but it requires consistency. Each day, we must remind ourselves that we are deserving of love, respect, and success. We must stop measuring our worth by the standards of others and begin defining it based on our own experiences, values, and actions. Just as a plant needs water and sunlight to thrive, our self-worth requires nourishment through positive affirmations, self-care, and gratitude for the journey we are on. Over time, this practice helps us to stop doubting ourselves, to embrace our unique path, and to take ownership of our lives and our future. Ultimately, the lesson here is that when we stop seeking validation from the outside and begin affirming our value from within, we free ourselves from the constraints of self-doubt. We unlock the power of self-love, which is the key to personal growth and fulfillment. Just as the lotus rises from the mud to bloom in its full glory, we too can rise above our challenges and realize the brilliance that lies within us. Self-affirmation is not just an act of self-love. It's a declaration of the potential we hold to overcome obstacles, to grow, and to live a life that reflects our true worth. We often find ourselves trapped in mental cages, quietly resigning ourselves to the belief that we are limited by our circumstances, our abilities, or the world around us. These self-imposed limits are the invisible bars that hold us back from exploring the vast potential that lies within us. It's akin to a bird that has been kept in a cage for so long that even when the door is open, it hesitates to fly. The bird, conditioned to believe that the confines of the cage are its reality, can no longer comprehend the freedom that is just beyond its reach. Likewise, we too limit ourselves by the mental barriers we create, often unconsciously, telling ourselves, "I can't," instead of realizing that with the right mindset, we can do anything. This idea is a powerful reflection of the Buddhist concept that most of the suffering we experience arises from our attachments. In this case, The attachment is to the limiting beliefs that we impose on ourselves. These limitations aren't truly part of who we are, they are just mental constructs that we've accepted over time. Buddhist philosophy teaches that suffering arises when we cling to things, ideas, outcomes, or even our own self-image and fail to let go of them. By doing so, we trap ourselves in a world of limitation. Freedom, according to Buddhist thought, comes from releasing these attachments and embracing the possibility of transformation and growth. When we shift our mindset from "I can't" to "I can," we unlock the door to endless possibilities. It's as if we've opened the cage door and allowed ourselves to step into a world of infinite potential. However, making this shift is not always easy. It requires a deep, conscious effort to overcome the mental barriers that hold us back. We've all been conditioned in some way to believe that certain things are beyond our reach, that we are not capable of achieving certain goals, or that we must play by the rules that society sets for us. But the moment we begin to question these beliefs, those deeply ingrained notions of what we can or cannot do, we begin to expand our sense of possibility. One of the most powerful ways to understand the impact of our mindset is to look at the story of someone who has overcome fear or self-doubt to pursue something extraordinary. Take, for instance, the story of an entrepreneur who starts a business despite the overwhelming uncertainty that lies ahead. The fear of failure, the doubt about one's abilities, and the voices that tell them to stay safe and keep their day job all weigh heavily. But the successful entrepreneur doesn't let those fears dictate their actions. Instead, they choose to believe that they can do anything. They recognize that, while there are real risks, the potential rewards far outweigh the fear. They decide to release their attachment to security and comfort and step into the unknown, trusting that their ability to adapt, learn, and grow will guide them toward success. Consider the story of Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, who started her business with just $5,000 in savings and a strong belief in her product. She faced many rejections from manufacturers and investors who doubted her vision, but she didn't let these obstacles define her. Instead of being defeated by the notion that her idea would never work, she embraced the belief that she could do anything if she just persevered. She saw each rejection as a lesson, each challenge as a step closer to her goal. Today, Blakely is one of the youngest self-made female billionaires in the world. Her story is a testament to the power of shifting our mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility. The same concept applies to the realm of personal growth. Each one of us has the potential to break free from the mental cages we've built. We are often our own biggest obstacle. The narrative that we can't achieve something, or that we're not capable of it, often stems from a deeply rooted fear of failure. But failure is not the end, it's simply part of the process. When we believe that we can do anything, we begin to see challenges as opportunities to learn, rather than insurmountable barriers. In the Buddhist view, challenges are part of the natural flow of life. Rather than resisting them, we can learn to embrace them, understanding that they help us grow and evolve. One of the most profound aspects of Buddhist philosophy is its emphasis on mindfulness, the practice of being present in the moment without judgment. By cultivating mindfulness, we can begin to detach from the limiting thoughts that often control our behavior. These thoughts rooted in fear, doubt, and insecurity are not inherently true. They are simply products of our minds that have been conditioned over time. When we can observe these thoughts without attachment, we free ourselves from their control and begin to experience life with a greater sense of freedom. The process of letting go of our mental limitations is akin to a bird being freed from its cage, no longer hesitant to spread its wings and take flight. But what does this freedom look like in practical terms? It means no longer accepting the story that we're not good enough, or that we don't deserve success. It means reframing the idea of failure as simply feedback, a necessary part of the process. It means recognizing that the only limits that exist are the ones we place on ourselves. When we begin to shift our perspective in this way, we start to notice that doors open where we once saw only walls. Opportunities present themselves in ways we couldn't have imagined before. But this transformation is not immediate. It requires consistent effort and belief in our own potential. Think about someone who has always struggled with their physical health. They may have tried various diets and exercise routines, only to feel defeated when they didn't see immediate results. The self-doubt creeps in, "I can never do this," or "I'm not meant to be healthy." But what if, instead of giving in to those limiting beliefs, they decided to believe in their potential to transform? What if they shifted their mindset to "I can do anything" and recognized that small, consistent steps, no matter how small, would eventually lead to significant change? When they take that first step toward breaking free from their mental barriers, they begin to unlock the power of persistence. With time, the results follow, not because they are somehow inherently different from others, but because they stopped allowing their doubts and fears to dictate their actions. The power of belief cannot be overstated. Our mindset shapes our reality. If we approach life with the belief that we are limited by our circumstances, we will find ourselves stuck. But when we begin to believe in the vastness of our potential, we open ourselves to the endless possibilities that life offers. This is the essence of true transformation, believing that we can do anything, no matter the obstacles in our way, no matter the uncertainty that lies ahead. When we shift our mindset from "I can't" to "I can," we begin to break free from the chains of self-doubt and step into a world of infinite possibility. Buddhist teachings emphasize that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from the liberation of the mind. By letting go of our attachments, whether they are to limiting beliefs, fears of failure, or the opinions of others, we can experience a profound sense of freedom. The journey toward this freedom starts with a simple but powerful shift: the decision to believe in our own potential and take the first step. Once we make that decision, we find that we are capable of achieving far more than we ever imagined. The notion that "my future is bright" is not just a phrase to inspire hope. It's a deeply rooted truth about the nature of life, particularly when viewed through the lens of Buddhist philosophy. Life, as it unfolds, can often feel like a stormy night, a period of intense struggle and uncertainty, where the light of a brighter future seems out of reach. Yet, like the storm itself, these turbulent times are temporary. The sun, representing the promise of a better future, will always rise again. This analogy of the storm and the sun beautifully encapsulates the essential truth of impermanence, a core teaching in Buddhism. All things, including our difficulties, are transient. No matter how dark the night may seem, dawn will inevitably break. Our present struggles often feel insurmountable, especially when we are entrenched in moments of despair or when we face what feels like an endless storm. But if we can cultivate the perspective that these challenges are merely temporary, just as the storm will eventually pass, and give way to sunlight, we can begin to embrace the idea that our future is indeed bright, regardless of the present circumstances. In Buddhist thought, everything is impermanent, including pain and suffering. The Buddha taught that the only constant in life is change. This means that no matter how difficult our current circumstances may be, they are bound to change. The storm will subside, and the sun will rise again. The key to understanding this teaching lies in the recognition that the present moment is not all there is. We tend to focus on the immediate, on the difficulties we face right now, but by doing so, we forget the broader picture. Everything we are experiencing is temporary. This is not to minimize the very real pain or difficulty we might be enduring, but rather to offer a perspective shift. If we can step back and view our challenges as transient, they become more manageable. We recognize that we are not defined by our current situation, and that a brighter future is always just beyond the horizon, waiting for us once we move through the storm. Let's consider a more concrete example to illustrate this point. Think about the life of Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he was imprisoned under the harshest conditions. His future, at the time, may have seemed bleak. He could have easily succumbed to despair and hopelessness, believing that his life would forever be marked by this period of suffering. However, Mandela's story exemplifies the core belief that no storm lasts forever. He held steadfast to the belief that his future could be better, despite the incredibly difficult present. The hardship he endured in prison did not define his life. Rather, it became a stepping stone toward a future filled with hope and transformation. Not only for him, but for the entire nation of South Africa. Mandela's life is a testament to the idea that even in the darkest of times, we can hold on to the belief that the future holds something brighter. This principle of impermanence is crucial to understanding how we can shape our future. In Buddhism, the belief that everything is transient is not a passive observation. It is a call to action. If we recognize that our suffering is temporary, we begin to focus not on the suffering itself, but on how we respond to it. Our response to adversity shapes our future. In the same way that a storm eventually gives way to sunlight, our actions in the face of adversity can lead to a future that is full of possibility, growth, and enlightenment. A personal anecdote might help to clarify this further. A few years ago, I faced a period of great personal struggle. I was going through a difficult breakup, coupled with the pressures of a demanding job, and it felt as though the world was closing in on me. At the time, I couldn't see how things would get better. It was a stormy night in my life, and the light of a bright future seemed elusive. But as time passed, I began to embrace the impermanence of my suffering. I recognized that just as storms pass, so too would my pain. With this awareness, I shifted my focus toward what I could control, how I spent my time, the thoughts I allowed to dominate my mind, and the actions I took each day. I started exercising, meditating, and reconnecting with old friends. And gradually, I began to feel better. The storm passed, and I started to see the sunlight on the horizon. What I came to realize during that time was that our present actions truly shape our future. By focusing on what I could control, I was not only easing my present discomfort, but also laying the foundation for a future that would be brighter. Just as the stormy night was temporary, so too was my pain. And my ability to focus on the present moment and take small steps toward healing helped me create a future that was, in the end, much more fulfilling than I could have imagined during my darkest days. This concept is deeply intertwined with another Buddhist teaching, the importance of mindfulness. In times of hardship, we often get consumed by the emotional weight of the present. We dwell on the pain, and this focus on our current suffering can lead us to believe that it will last forever. However, when we practice mindfulness, we train our minds to stay present and acknowledge that whatever we're experiencing, whether it's pain, joy, frustration, or excitement, is temporary. Through mindfulness, we gain the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming attached to them, which in turn helps us detach from the narrative that our suffering defines us. For instance, when we focus on the present moment, on the action we can take right now, even if it's as simple as breathing or taking a short walk, our minds begin to shift from the negative cycle of "this will never end" to one of "I am doing something positive right now." This small shift is powerful. It serves as a reminder that the present moment is the only moment we truly have control over, and the way we choose to engage with it has a direct impact on the future. Furthermore, the recognition of impermanence offers us the opportunity to let go of the fear that often holds us back. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, and fear of making mistakes can keep us stuck in a place of inaction. But when we understand that life is constantly changing, and that every moment brings the possibility for something new, we begin to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it. We realize that our mistakes and setbacks are not permanent markers of who we are. They are simply part of the journey toward a brighter future. This was evident in the story of J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. Before her books became a global phenomenon, Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers, and she was living in difficult circumstances. She was a single mother struggling financially, and her dreams of being a writer seemed unattainable. But she didn't let her present situation define her. She continued to write and submit her work, believing that the storm of rejection would eventually pass and that a brighter future was waiting. And indeed, it did. Rowling's perseverance and her ability to hold on to the belief that her future was bright eventually led to massive success. She is now one of the most successful authors of all time, and her story serves as a powerful reminder that the challenges we face today are not permanent, they are just part of the storm. The lesson to be learned here is simple but profound. Our present actions shape our future. By focusing on what we can control and letting go of fear, we open ourselves to endless possibilities. When we embrace the idea that challenges are temporary and that our future holds the promise of better things, we begin to take the steps necessary to create that future. Whether it's through perseverance, mindfulness, or simply believing that the storm will pass, we can create a life filled with possibility, growth, and fulfillment. So, no matter what you are facing in your life right now, whether it's a difficult career, a painful breakup, or a moment of self-doubt, remember that this is just the stormy night. The sun is always ready to rise. If you can focus on what you can control, take small steps toward positive change, and trust in the impermanence of your struggles, you will find that your future truly is bright. When we talk about working hard, the phrase itself can often conjure up images of exhaustion, long hours, and the strain of pushing through challenges. However, when hard work is aligned with purpose and passion, it becomes something entirely different. It transforms from a burden to a joy. And what might once have seemed like a tiresome task becomes a path to self-expression, fulfillment, and personal growth. Think of the sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. Every stroke is not just an effort to carve away at the material, but a deliberate act of creation, a manifestation of love and purpose. This metaphor encapsulates the essence of hard work when it is rooted in a deep sense of meaning and passion. In Buddhist philosophy, the idea of hard work is not seen as a mere physical endeavor, but as a sacred act, something that carries profound significance. Monks, for example, dedicate their time to tasks that serve the greater good, whether it's meditating, studying, or performing acts of kindness. For them, every action is imbued with mindfulness and purpose, whether they are sweeping the temple floor or crafting intricate offerings. These tasks are viewed as opportunities for spiritual growth and self-expression. Hard work, then, is not an end in itself, but a means through which one can engage with the world in a way that reflects their deepest values. This aligns with the idea that hard work becomes sacred when it is done with intention. It's not about the hours put in or the physical toll it takes on the body. It's about the energy, focus, and love that go into every action. When we dedicate ourselves to something with genuine passion, the work itself becomes a form of self-expression. It becomes an extension of who we are, a way to manifest our inner selves in the external world. To understand this concept more deeply, let's consider the story of an artist or craftsman who works tirelessly on their craft. Take the example of Pablo Picasso, one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. Picasso's work was not just about creating paintings or sculptures. It was about expressing his innermost thoughts, emotions, and perceptions of the world. He worked tirelessly, constantly experimenting with new styles, techniques, and mediums. His dedication to his craft was not driven by external validation or financial gain, but by an internal passion to express himself in ways that words alone could not convey. In the early days of his career, Picasso faced rejection and financial hardship. He could have easily given up and abandoned his passion. However, his love for art was so strong that he continued to create. Even when it seemed like no one was interested in his work, his perseverance paid off. Over time, Picasso became one of the most recognized and celebrated artists in history. His story illustrates the power of passion-driven effort. Despite the challenges, the labor that went into his work was not something he saw as a burden. It was a joy, a form of self-expression, and a path to personal growth. Similarly, consider the story of a craftsman who has dedicated their life to perfecting their trade. Perhaps it's a woodworker who spends years crafting intricate furniture, or a blacksmith who hones their skill at forging metal into beautiful and functional pieces. For these artisans, hard work is not simply a means to an end. It is a lifelong pursuit of excellence. Every piece they create is not just a product, but a reflection of their values, their dedication, and their passion. The act of creating becomes an expression of who they are, and in the process, they are constantly growing and evolving. The quality of the work we produce is often a reflection of the level of commitment we bring to it. When we pour our hearts and minds into our work, it becomes an extension of our values and passions. This is especially true when we view our work as a form of self-expression, rather than a mere obligation or task to complete. Whether we are an artist, a teacher, a doctor, or a janitor, the energy and passion we bring to our work can transform it into something sacred. It becomes an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. One of the most profound aspects of hard work is the way it shapes our character. When we commit ourselves fully to a task, we are forced to confront our limitations, our fears, and our insecurities. But as we continue to work, we begin to transcend those limitations. We discover new strengths, develop resilience, and uncover talents we didn't even know we had. It is through hard work that we are able to push ourselves beyond our comfort zones and grow into the person we are meant to be. This process of self-discovery is especially important in the context of Buddhist philosophy. Buddhism teaches that our true nature is not defined by our circumstances or external achievements, but by the depth of our inner awareness and our connection to the world around us. Hard work, when aligned with purpose, becomes a tool for cultivating this inner awareness. By dedicating ourselves to tasks that are meaningful and purposeful, we learn more about ourselves and our place in the world. We begin to see that the work we do is not just about achieving external success, but about cultivating inner peace, balance, and understanding. When we approach our work with love and intention, we align ourselves with something much greater than ourselves. Whether we are crafting a piece of art, serving others, or working toward a personal goal, our work becomes a form of meditation, an opportunity to practice mindfulness and engage with the world in a way that reflects our highest values. Just as the sculptor chisels away at the stone with love and care, we too can approach our work with the same level of dedication, transforming it from a mundane task into a sacred practice. At its core, the lesson to be learned here is simple yet profound. The quality of our work reflects our commitment to our values. When passion fuels our efforts, the work itself becomes a form of self-expression and growth. Whether we are working on a creative project, pursuing a career, or simply taking care of our daily responsibilities, the effort we put into our work can be a reflection of who we are and what we believe. Hard work, then, is not just about the external results we achieve, but about the internal transformation that occurs as we engage with the world. It is through the act of working that we discover our true potential, refine our character, and deepen our connection to the world around us. When we approach our work with passion, purpose, and love, it becomes a path to self-discovery and growth, a sacred practice that nurtures our mind, body, and soul. Ultimately, the lesson of hard work is that it is not the effort itself, but the intention behind it that defines its true value. When we align our work with our deepest passions and values, it becomes an act of love, a process of self-expression and growth. And in doing so, we discover that hard work is not a burden to be endured, but a joy to be embraced, a path that leads us toward becoming the best version of ourselves. The concept of no excuses might seem simple on the surface, but when examined deeply, it reveals a profound truth that can transform our lives. It's about taking full responsibility for our actions, understanding that external circumstances, while they may influence our environment, cannot control our destiny. We all know the person who constantly blames the weather for a failed garden, or the economy for not advancing in their career, yet never takes the time to evaluate their own actions or inactions. The gardener blames the rain, the sun, the soil, but never looks at the seeds they failed to plant, or the care they neglected to give. This kind of external focus is a trap, a form of self-delusion that keeps us from progressing and prevents us from achieving our potential. In our lives, it's easy to fall into the trap of blaming circumstances for where we are. The weather, the economy, our upbringing, our family, our friends, these can all be used as convenient scapegoats for not achieving our goals. We create a narrative that places the blame on everything outside of ourselves. This excuse-based thinking keeps us stuck in a state of inertia, where we are never fully accountable for our choices or their consequences. The truth, however, is that excuses are nothing more than mental barriers, self-imposed limitations that block our potential. These excuses often disguise themselves as legitimate reasons, but the underlying issue is that we are unwilling to face the responsibility of our own actions or inactions. A powerful Buddhist teaching encourages us to look inward and take full responsibility for our thoughts, words, and actions. The path to enlightenment, according to Buddhism, requires effort, and personal responsibility. The Buddha himself emphasized the importance of right effort and right action. These are not passive concepts. They demand that we take full ownership of our lives, our actions, and our choices. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment and delusion. Our attachment to excuses, whether it's blaming external factors or believing in our own helplessness, keeps us chained to a cycle of unfulfilled potential. To break free from this cycle, we must first confront our excuses head-on and take full responsibility for our own growth. This principle is embodied in the idea of right effort. Right effort is not just about pushing through difficult tasks or enduring challenges. It's about working with intention and purpose. It's about taking responsibility for the work we need to do, even when it's difficult or uncomfortable. It's about facing the truth that we are the ones responsible for the results of our actions. Whether we succeed or fail, it's our choices, our efforts, and our dedication that determine the outcome. When we take full responsibility for our actions, we remove the excuses that would otherwise hold us back. The process of eliminating excuses is deeply tied to self-awareness. The more we understand our own patterns of thought and behavior, the more we realize when we're making excuses for ourselves. It's essential to develop the habit of self-reflection and self-honesty. When we stop blaming external factors, we start to see where we are falling short. This awareness allows us to shift our mindset from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. We begin to understand that we are not at the mercy of circumstances, but rather the architects of our own lives. Consider the story of someone who successfully overcame excuses to achieve a long-term goal. Take the case of J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. Before achieving global success, Rowling faced a series of personal and professional challenges. She was a single mother living on welfare, struggling with depression, and experiencing numerous rejections from publishers. She could have easily used these circumstances as excuses to give up on her dream of becoming a writer. But instead, Rowling chose to persist. She refused to let the hardships she faced define her future. She took full responsibility for her dream and worked tirelessly, despite the rejections and obstacles, to bring her vision to life. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't immediate, but Rowling's refusal to make excuses led to one of the most successful literary franchises in history. Her story is a testament to the power of perseverance and responsibility. Rowling didn't blame her financial struggles, her personal life, or the challenges of being a single mother. Instead, she took action. She continued writing. She didn't wait for the ideal moment or the perfect circumstances. She worked with what she had, and in doing so, she achieved success beyond what most people could ever imagine. This kind of mindset is crucial for anyone who seeks to achieve long-term goals. We must stop looking for reasons to quit and start looking for reasons to continue. The challenges will always be there. Life will always throw obstacles in our path. But it's not the obstacles that define us, it's how we respond to them. The moment we stop making excuses is the moment we take back control of our lives. We no longer wait for the world to change for us. Instead, we become active participants in our own growth and transformation. The key to breaking free from the trap of excuses lies in our ability to change the stories we tell ourselves. Often, we create narratives in which we are the victims of circumstance, and these stories become our excuse for inaction. For example, someone may think, "I can't start my own business because the economy is too unstable," or "I can't go back to school because I'm too old." These are stories we tell ourselves to justify why we haven't taken action. But once we recognize these stories for what they are, excuses, we can begin to rewrite them. The economy may be unstable, but there are still opportunities to be found. Age is just a number, and many people have gone back to school later in life and achieved great things. The moment we take full responsibility for our actions and stop blaming external circumstances is the moment we free ourselves from the grip of excuses. We begin to see the possibilities instead of the barriers. We understand that the only real limitation is the one we place on ourselves. When we let go of excuses, we open the door to growth, creativity, and achievement. We realize that we are not bound by our past circumstances, and that the future is ours to create. The lesson here is simple yet powerful. When we own our choices and actions, We free ourselves from the grip of excuses and place ourselves on the path to unstoppable growth. Life will always present challenges, but it is how we respond to them that determines our success. Excuses will always be there, but they are just temporary mental blocks that can be overcome with awareness, responsibility, and action. When we stop looking outside for reasons to fail and start looking inside for the strength to succeed, we unlock the full potential of who we are. In conclusion, the journey to personal growth and success is not without its challenges, but it is made infinitely harder when we allow ourselves to fall into the trap of excuses. Buddhism teaches us that enlightenment comes through effort, responsibility, and self-awareness. We must let go of laziness, delusion, and the habit of blaming external factors for our lack of progress. When we take full ownership of our actions and stop making excuses, we unlock the path to a life of limitless possibilities. As we take responsibility for our own choices, we free ourselves from the shackles of excuses and step into our true potential. The idea of "I am getting better each day" might seem like a simple mantra, but its power lies in its truth. It's a truth that calls us to reflect on the gradual, often invisible nature of progress. Imagine a potter at work, their hands gently shaping a lump of clay. Each touch, each movement, brings the clay closer to its intended form. There's no magic moment where the clay suddenly becomes the perfect sculpture. It's the result of countless, small, deliberate actions, each one contributing to the final piece. In much the same way, we must embrace the process of gradual improvement in our own lives. The potter doesn't worry about perfection on the first try. They know that the beauty and shape of the clay will emerge through consistent, thoughtful effort over time. In our daily lives, we tend to focus too much on the idea of perfection. We often look at our progress through the lens of an immediate, dramatic result. When we don't see drastic change right away, we can become frustrated and disheartened. Yet, just as the potter understands that each touch of their hands matters, we too must learn to appreciate that progress is built one small action at a time. Every effort, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is part of a larger process of transformation. It's important to understand that the path to improvement isn't always linear. Some days will feel like setbacks, and that's okay. Growth happens in layers, and some days, we may feel like we're not making visible progress. But when we step back and look at the bigger picture, we'll realize how far we've come. That's the beauty of persistence. It's the sum of all those moments of effort that lead to the bigger transformations. The Buddhist concept of patience and persistence teaches us this. In Buddhism, the path to enlightenment isn't a quick one. It's a long, winding journey that requires consistent effort and deep patience. It's not about rushing to the finish line, but about cultivating the wisdom to trust the process and enjoy the journey. This idea of small, consistent actions leading to transformation is not a new one. It's a principle embedded in countless teachings and philosophies throughout the world. One of the core Buddhist teachings is the importance of mindfulness and consistent practice. Like the potter shaping the clay, each moment, each action, each breath brings us closer to our ideal form, our truest self. The process may be slow, but it is steady, and that steady progress is what ultimately shapes our character and abilities. One way to illustrate this concept is through the example of a student who gradually masters a difficult subject. Think about someone who is learning to play the piano. At first, they struggle to read music, and their fingers don't always land on the right keys. There may be days when it feels like they're making no progress at all, but as they continue to practice, day after day, their fingers begin to move more naturally. Their understanding of music deepens, and the melodies become smoother. It's only after months or even years of practice that the student can look back and truly appreciate the improvement they've made. But if they had given up after the first day or the first week, they would never have experienced that growth. The key is persistence, a belief in the small actions that accumulate over time. Similarly, in the world of sports, athletes often experience the same gradual progress. Take the example of a runner training for a marathon. At the beginning, they might only be able to run a few miles without feeling exhausted. However, with consistent training running a little farther each day, Pushing through the discomfort, they begin to build endurance. The progress is incremental. But one day, after months of consistent effort, they find themselves crossing the finish line of the marathon. The growth didn't happen in one big leap. It happened through small, persistent steps. It's the same with any skill or goal we set out to achieve. Whether we're learning a new language, mastering a sport, or growing in our career, it's the daily, consistent efforts that lead to success. In the Buddhist tradition, the concept of sila, moral conduct, samadhi, concentration, and prajna, wisdom, are all cultivated over time. These teachings encourage us to engage in daily practice, to nurture these qualities gradually, and to trust in the process. Like the potter shaping the clay, we must allow ourselves to grow slowly, without rushing, and trust that we are becoming who we are meant to be. In doing so, we cultivate patience and a deep sense of gratitude for the journey itself. Patience with ourselves is a powerful lesson in personal growth. How often do we judge ourselves harshly for not being good enough or perfect right away? How many times have we compared our progress to others and felt disheartened? In a world that often prioritizes speed and results, it's easy to forget that growth takes time. We live in an era of instant gratification, where everything from food to information is at our fingertips. We expect fast results in almost every area of life. But when it comes to personal development, we must remember that the journey is more important than the destination. The beauty lies in the slow, steady progress. Just like the potter who doesn't rush the shaping of their clay, we must allow ourselves to be shaped by time and experience. In this context, it's important to reflect on how we approach our goals. Are we focused on perfection, or are we focused on progress? The difference is subtle but powerful. Perfection creates a sense of urgency, of needing to achieve something quickly. It breeds frustration and self-criticism when things don't go as planned. Progress, on the other hand, encourages us to take one step at a time, to acknowledge small victories, and to celebrate the effort rather than the outcome. Progress isn't about reaching an ideal or a destination, it's about becoming better each day, in small ways that accumulate over time. As we embrace this mindset of gradual improvement, we come to realize that perfection is a fleeting and unattainable goal, but progress is constant, and it's available to us every day. We can choose to measure our success by how much we've grown, rather than how perfect we've become. This shift in perspective changes everything. It allows us to embrace our imperfections, knowing that they are part of the process. We stop striving for an unreachable ideal and start appreciating the beauty of each day's effort. One of the keys to this mindset is self-compassion. Just as the potter does not criticize the clay for not being perfect at every stage, we must learn to be kind to ourselves. We must stop beating ourselves up for not being good enough. Instead, we must practice patience with ourselves, allowing room for mistakes and imperfections. When we do, we unlock a greater sense of motivation and a deeper connection to our goals. We begin to see that it's not about being perfect, but about being better than we were yesterday. There's a quote by the famous philosopher Heraclitus that says, "The only constant in life is change." This couldn't be truer when it comes to personal growth. We are constantly evolving, shifting, and changing, but it's the small, consistent actions that shape that evolution. We might not see dramatic changes every day, but over time, those small steps lead to transformation. The key is to stay committed to the process, to trust that each day's effort matters, and to embrace the fact that we are always becoming something greater than we were before. In conclusion, "I am getting better each day" is not just a mantra, but a truth that reflects the power of patience, persistence, and self-compassion. It's a truth that invites us to trust the process of growth and to embrace the small, consistent actions that lead to transformation. Like the potter shaping the clay, we are constantly being shaped by our efforts. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And in that progress, we find the beauty of the journey itself. The concept of greatness is often misunderstood in today's world. We live in an age where success is often equated with fame, wealth, and external accolades, from social media influencers to high-profile executives. The world glorifies those who can command attention, often overlooking the deeper, more personal meaning of greatness. However, true greatness isn't about the size of your audience or the number of trophies you accumulate. It's about fulfilling your inherent purpose. It's about doing what you were born to do, regardless of whether the world notices. Just like a river that flows effortlessly through the terrain, fulfilling its natural role. Each of us has a unique role in the world. It's not about striving for recognition, but rather about embracing the path that is uniquely ours and staying true to the course. Consider the example of a river. It doesn't struggle to find its way. The river flows naturally, carving through valleys, moving mountains, and sustaining life along its path. It fulfills its purpose simply by being what it is, a river. It doesn't require any external validation to do so. Its greatness lies in its ability to stay true to its course, its essence. Similarly, every person has an inherent purpose, a unique calling in life. Our role in the world isn't always something we consciously choose, it's something we are born with. Just like the river, we too are part of a much larger system, a flow of interconnectedness, and our greatness arises from fulfilling the role we were meant to play. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of dharma closely mirrors this idea of living in alignment with one's true nature or purpose. Dharma refers to the intrinsic law or truth that governs the universe, and in human terms, it translates into our unique role in life. The idea is that each person has a specific dharma, whether it's to be a teacher, a healer, a creator, or a leader, and that fulfilling this dharma is the ultimate path to peace and fulfillment. It's not about the recognition or validation of others, but about understanding and fulfilling your role in the greater tapestry of life. When we align ourselves with our dharma, we stop searching for meaning in external sources, and instead, we begin to find fulfillment in living out our truth. This is where true greatness comes from. Take the story of Mahatma Gandhi. For example, Gandhi wasn't seeking fame or accolades when he led India to independence. His actions were not driven by a desire for recognition, but by a deep sense of purpose. He believed that his purpose was to bring about change through nonviolence and self-sacrifice. He didn't need to be the most famous person in the world or have a title to validate his worth. His greatness came from his commitment to his dharma, which was to serve humanity by leading a movement rooted in truth and nonviolence. He lived his life not for himself, but for the collective good, and in doing so, he left an indelible mark on the world. Gandhi's life is a profound example of what happens when a person discovers their true calling and aligns their actions with that purpose. Similarly, consider the life of a community leader or spiritual teacher who, despite not seeking fame, impacts the lives of many through their dedication and service. Such individuals may not be household names, but they are deeply revered in their communities. They lead with compassion, integrity, and a deep understanding of their dharma. Their greatness doesn't come from the recognition of the world, but from the way they live in harmony with their purpose. These individuals exemplify the idea that greatness is not measured by external metrics, but by the depth of one's commitment to living truthfully and with purpose. The importance of living in alignment with your deeper purpose cannot be overstated. Many people spend their entire lives chasing after external goals like wealth, fame, or status, believing that these are the markers of success. But true fulfillment comes not from these external rewards, but from a sense of inner peace that arises when we live according to our dharma. When we align our actions with our true purpose, we naturally create a lasting impact on the world. We become the best version of ourselves, not by conforming to society's expectations, but by listening to the whispers of our heart and living authentically. A contemporary example of this is the story of a woman who may not be a celebrity or a well-known public figure, but has made a profound difference in her community. She might have started a small nonprofit organization, teaching children in underserved areas how to read and write. Her work may not make national headlines, but the lives she touches are forever changed. She is living her dharma, fulfilling her purpose through the simple yet profound act of service. This kind of greatness, the kind that is rooted in purpose and alignment, is what leaves a lasting legacy. It's a greatness that doesn't fade with time or the changing tides of fame. Another relevant example is that of a teacher. While teachers may not always receive the recognition they deserve in the public eye, They are some of the most influential people in society. A teacher who dedicates their life to their students, inspiring and encouraging them, is embodying their dharma. They might not be receiving awards or widespread recognition, but the impact they have on their students' lives is immeasurable. Through their commitment to their craft and their students, they are fulfilling a purpose that goes beyond what is visible to the public eye. This kind of greatness doesn't need validation because it is grounded in something deeper than external recognition. It's grounded in the knowledge that they are fulfilling the unique purpose they were born for. The Buddhist teaching of right livelihood is a principle that encourages individuals to choose a profession or path that aligns with their values and purpose. When we live in alignment with our dharma, we experience a sense of peace, fulfillment, and contentment. This doesn't mean that challenges and difficulties won't arise, but it does mean that we are on a path that feels authentic and true to our nature. We become like the river, effortlessly flowing, fulfilling our role in the greater scheme of things, and having a positive impact on the world around us without needing to prove anything to anyone. When we live according to our dharma, we stop seeking external validation. We begin to understand that greatness is not about recognition or accolades. It is about living with purpose, being true to ourselves, and contributing to the world in a meaningful way. This is where lasting fulfillment is found. True greatness comes from discovering and fulfilling our purpose, from being true to ourselves and the unique role we have in the world. It's not about striving for external approval, but aligning our actions with our deepest values. When we live authentically, we create a ripple effect that extends far beyond what we can see. Our purpose becomes the foundation of our actions, and our greatness is measured not by what we achieve, but by the positive impact we have on others. Just like the river flowing through the terrain, we are born to fulfill our purpose, and in doing so, we create a legacy that transcends fame, wealth, or status. When we align ourselves with this deeper truth, we find not only greatness but peace, fulfillment, and a sense of belonging in the world. Thus, the path to true greatness lies not in what we achieve for ourselves, but in how we fulfill our unique role in the world, embracing our dharma and allowing our actions to flow from our deepest sense of purpose. In the ever-changing landscape of human relationships and societal expectations, one of the greatest sources of inner turmoil comes from the opinions of others. Whether it's the judgment of friends, family, colleagues, or even strangers, we are often affected by what people think of us. These external opinions can shape our actions, dictate our decisions, and even define how we view ourselves. However, there's a profound lesson in learning to detach from the judgments of others, something that can lead to true peace, confidence, and authenticity in life. Just as a tree stands firm in the forest, swaying with the wind but remaining rooted in its place, we too can cultivate a sense of inner strength that remains undisturbed by external forces. The tree serves as a powerful metaphor for how we can navigate the opinions and judgments of others. When the wind blows, the tree bends, but its roots are firmly planted in the soil. It doesn't uproot itself when the gusts are strong, nor does it try to fight the wind. Instead, it simply flows with the movement, staying true to its essence. Similarly, when we learn to detach from the opinions of others, we can stand strong in our own truth, unshaken by external influences. The key here is not to avoid or reject feedback altogether, but to develop a sense of internal grounding that enables us to remain true to our values, regardless of what others may think or say. This concept is closely tied to the Buddhist teachings on impermanence and non-attachment. Buddhism encourages the cultivation of a mindset where we recognize that everything in life is transient, including the opinions of others. People's views about us are just fleeting thoughts or judgments that come and go, much like clouds in the sky. They hold no true power over us unless we allow them to. By practicing non-attachment, we learn not to cling to these judgments and to let them pass by without being affected by them. It's a practice of acceptance, not of the opinions themselves, but of the fact that we cannot control them. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the idea that suffering arises from attachment. When we attach ourselves to the idea of what others think about us, we create unnecessary suffering. This attachment to external validation keeps us constantly on edge, always wondering if we are living up to the expectations of others. But when we release this attachment, we free ourselves from the constant need for approval. We can move through life with a sense of peace and clarity, knowing that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others. Consider the example of an artist who is deeply committed to their craft but faces criticism from the public. In the early stages of their career, they might be discouraged by negative reviews or rejection from galleries. They may even be tempted to change their style to fit in with mainstream trends. But true artists, those who are grounded in their purpose, often refuse to bow to external pressures. They stand firm, much like the tree in the forest, and continue creating according to their own vision. One famous example is Vincent van Gogh, whose work was largely unrecognized during his lifetime. He faced constant criticism and rejection, yet he remained committed to his unique artistic expression. Van Gogh didn't create art for approval. He created it because it was his truth. It wasn't until long after his death that his work was truly appreciated and celebrated. His life is a testament to the power of standing firm in one's own beliefs and values, regardless of external opinions. Similarly, activists and social change leaders often face criticism for standing up for what they believe in. Take the case of Rosa Parks. For instance, in 1955, when she refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama, she was not thinking about how others would perceive her. Parks was not concerned with the opinions of the bus driver or the other passengers. She was acting in alignment with her values, her understanding of justice, and her belief in human dignity. At that moment, she was grounded in her purpose, and that grounding helped her stand firm in the face of adversity. Parks didn't seek validation from anyone for her actions. She simply knew that what she was doing was right. Her decision sparked a movement that changed the course of history, and her legacy endures to this day. She is an example of how standing firm in one's values, despite public opinion, can lead to profound and lasting change. But how do we cultivate this ability to detach from the opinions of others? It begins with understanding the impermanent nature of everything, especially people's thoughts and judgments. Just as the tree doesn't worry about the wind or the changing seasons, we too must learn not to be swayed by external forces. The opinions of others are often based on their own perspectives, experiences, and biases. What one person sees as a flaw, another may see as a strength. If we spend our lives trying to meet everyone's expectations, we'll never truly know who we are or what we are capable of. The key to detachment lies in self-awareness. When we cultivate a deep understanding of our own values, goals, and purpose, we become less susceptible to outside opinions. We can listen to feedback, consider constructive criticism, but ultimately, we make our decisions based on what resonates with our true self. This is a practice of discernment. We don't need to reject the opinions of others entirely, but we must learn to differentiate between what is helpful and what is merely noise. Another important aspect of detachment is mindfulness. When we are mindful, we become aware of our thoughts and reactions in real time. This awareness allows us to choose how we respond to external judgments. Instead of reacting impulsively to criticism, we can pause, breathe, and reflect on whether the criticism is valid or simply a reflection of someone else's perspective. Mindfulness gives us the space to respond with clarity rather than being driven by emotion or the need to please others. A powerful example of mindfulness in action is seen in the life of Steve Jobs. Jobs was known for his uncompromising vision for Apple, and he often faced intense criticism for his unconventional approach to business and design. Many people doubted him and questioned his ideas, but Jobs remained firm in his beliefs. He was deeply grounded in his own values and vision for the future, and that grounding allowed him to navigate criticism with ease. He didn't seek validation from the outside world. He trusted his instincts and his understanding of what he wanted to create. Today, Apple is one of the most successful companies in the world, and Jobs' legacy continues to inspire countless entrepreneurs and innovators. True peace, then, comes not from conforming to the expectations of others, but from becoming detached from the need for approval. When we stop seeking validation from external sources, we gain the freedom to live authentically and with confidence. We no longer feel the need to justify our choices or explain ourselves to others. Instead, we can move through life with a sense of inner peace, knowing that we are living in alignment with our values and purpose. The lesson here is simple. When we let go of the need for external validation, we empower ourselves to be who we truly are. We stop being influenced by the fleeting opinions of others and instead listen to the quiet, steady voice within. By standing firm in our own values, we can weather any storm and remain grounded in our truth. The opinions of others may sway in the wind, but we, like the tree, remain rooted in our own essence, strong and unshaken. This is the path to true freedom and peace. Life is often perceived as something that can be taken for granted, a cycle of days that flow into each other, each seemingly indistinguishable from the next. Yet, there is profound wisdom in recognizing the preciousness of life and how easily it can be lost or wasted. The beauty of life exists not in its length, but in the moments we fully experience and the choices we make along the way. A simple analogy can illustrate this well: the flower blooms in its own time, not waiting for the perfect moment, not hesitating or holding back. It opens to the world in full bloom, existing fully in the present. This natural, effortless unfolding is a reminder to us all that life is precious, and it is fleeting. When we truly understand the fleeting nature of life, it can inspire us to live more intentionally and fully, not in panic or anxiety, but in a deeper sense of urgency. We are all given the gift of time, but none of us know how much of it remains. The awareness of life's impermanence brings both humility and a profound appreciation for the present moment. Too often, we get caught up in the future, worrying about what's ahead, planning for what's next, or seeking a perfect moment that may never come. But the reality is, all we truly have is right now, this moment. Life is precious not because it is long, but because it is finite, and every moment counts. One of the most transformative teachings in Buddhism is the understanding of impermanence, or anicca. This principle reminds us that everything is in a constant state of flux: our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences, and even our relationships. Nothing remains the same forever, and this includes our lives. It is this realization that can motivate us to make the most of every breath, every experience, every opportunity that presents itself. The Buddha encourages us to recognize that everything in life is temporary, and with that awareness comes the responsibility to live fully, to make choices that align with our highest purpose, and to cherish each moment as a precious gift. In Buddhism, we are taught to reflect on the nature of impermanence regularly, and this reflection fosters a deep sense of appreciation for what we have. It's easy to take life for granted when things are stable and predictable, but when we realize that nothing is guaranteed, we begin to value each moment with more depth. This shift in perspective can lead to a greater sense of mindfulness, where we actively participate in life rather than just pass through it. Living with intention means choosing to focus on what truly matters, cultivating meaningful relationships, and investing our time and energy into pursuits that bring us joy and fulfillment. Consider the example of someone who, after a close call with death, undergoes a profound transformation in how they view life. This could be a person who survives a serious illness, an accident, or a life-threatening situation. Before the event, they may have taken life's small blessings for granted: health, love, time with family. Afterward, their perspective shifts dramatically. The illness or accident serves as a wake-up call, a reminder that life is precious and that every moment is worth cherishing. They begin to prioritize what matters most, spending more time with loved ones, pursuing dreams they had postponed, and living in a way that reflects their deepest values. The shift from taking life for granted to recognizing its fragility can ignite a passion for living more authentically, with purpose and intention. One such example is the story of Dr. Randy Pausch, a professor of computer science at Carnegie Mellon University. In 2007, Pausch was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer and given only a few months to live. In his now famous last lecture, he reflected on the importance of living with purpose, pursuing dreams, and valuing time. Pausch had spent much of his life as an educator, but the diagnosis forced him to confront the limited time he had left. Rather than wallow in fear or regret, Posh chose to live with intention, focusing on the things that mattered most: his family, his work, and the legacy he would leave behind. His message was clear: life is precious, and each moment is an opportunity to act, to love, and to make a meaningful impact on the world. This story highlights a crucial lesson: the realization of life's impermanence does not need to be a source of panic or dread, but rather an inspiration to live more fully. When we acknowledge that time is limited, we become more intentional about how we spend it. We stop putting off our dreams, stop waiting for the right time, and stop holding ourselves back out of fear or uncertainty. Instead, we begin to take bold steps toward living the life we truly want, one that aligns with our values, our passions, and our purpose. Another powerful story is that of the well-known actor, Christopher Reeve, who, after a tragic horseback riding accident that left him paralyzed, shifted his focus from fame and success to his role as an advocate for those living with disabilities. Reeve had once been defined by his career as an actor, but after his accident, he became deeply committed to using his platform to improve the lives of others. In a sense, his accident, while a devastating loss, helped him realize the preciousness of life and how important it was to live with a sense of purpose. He did not wallow in self-pity. Instead, he embraced the time he had left, dedicating himself to his new mission. Through his work, he inspired countless others and reminded us all that life, no matter the circumstances, is precious and worth living fully. In Buddhist teachings, there is an emphasis on mindfulness and living in the present moment. This practice encourages us to release attachments to the past and future and to fully engage with the present. We often get trapped in thoughts about the past or worries about the future, but this only serves to distract us from the reality of what we are experiencing right now. Mindfulness is about bringing our attention to the present, focusing on what is happening in this moment, and truly experiencing life as it unfolds. By doing so, we become more aware of the preciousness of each moment and the opportunities we have to act with intention. Living with mindfulness can also help us appreciate the beauty of life's impermanence. When we truly recognize that life is fleeting, we become more attuned to its beauty. We may find ourselves savoring the small moments, enjoying a conversation with a loved one, appreciating a sunset, or relishing a simple meal. These small, everyday moments are what make life meaningful. When we're present in these moments, we are reminded that life is not about achieving perfection or accumulating accolades, but about experiencing the fullness of each moment. Ultimately, the lesson here is simple: life is precious, and it is fleeting. Every day, every moment, is an opportunity to make choices that align with our deepest purpose, to love fully, and to create meaningful change in the world. The realization of life's impermanence can serve as a powerful motivator, inspiring us to live with intention and to embrace each moment as a gift. When we understand that life is not guaranteed, we are more likely to act with urgency, to pursue our dreams, and to make the most of the time we have. Life, in all its impermanence, is a precious gift, and it is up to us to make each moment count. Uncertainty is an unavoidable part of life. The unknown is often perceived as a source of fear and discomfort. But what if we changed the way we viewed it? What if uncertainty, instead of being something to avoid, was something to embrace? What if we saw it not as a threat, but as fertile ground for growth, expansion, and transformation? Think of the journey of a seed sprouting into a tree. Initially, the seed is small, vulnerable, and completely uncertain of its future. It has no idea what kind of tree it will become or what challenges it might face as it grows. But despite this uncertainty, it pushes through the soil, growing with perseverance and adapting to its environment. Eventually, the seed becomes a towering tree, reaching toward the sky, far beyond its original self. The growth was made possible because the seed did not shrink from uncertainty, it embraced it and grew stronger because of it. Similarly, we all face periods of uncertainty in our lives. But it is in these moments of vulnerability that our true potential lies. The unknown is a powerful opportunity for growth. Often, when we step into the unknown, we are afraid because we don't know what lies ahead. But it is this very fear of the unknown that can be the greatest catalyst for transformation. Just as the seed must endure the challenges of sprouting into a full-grown tree, we too must push through our discomfort in order to grow into our fullest potential. Uncertainty gives us the chance to step outside of our comfort zones and become something more than we were before. It invites us to expand our minds, take risks, and learn new things about ourselves and the world around us. In the Buddhist tradition, this concept of uncertainty is deeply ingrained in the teaching of beginner's mind. This is the practice of approaching life with an open, curious, and receptive mindset, free from preconceived notions and judgments. A beginner's mind is like a blank canvas, ready to be filled with new experiences and insights. It is a mindset that does not resist challenges, but embraces them as opportunities to learn and grow. With a beginner's mind, we approach uncertainty not as something to fear, but as a chance to explore, experiment, and evolve. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the impermanence of all things anicca. Everything is in a constant state of change, and nothing is permanent. This includes the challenges we face, the obstacles that seem insurmountable, and even the moments of uncertainty that we dread. Everything is in flux, and with that knowledge comes the opportunity to adapt. When we view uncertainty through the lens of impermanence, we recognize that it is not something to be avoided, but something that will pass. Just as a storm eventually clears and the sun shines through, our moments of uncertainty will eventually give way to clarity and understanding. But in the meantime, the space between the unknown and the known is where growth happens. In moments of uncertainty, we often experience failure, and failure is something that most people dread. But failure, as uncomfortable as it may be, is an essential part of growth. When we fail, we are presented with valuable lessons that we would not have encountered if everything had gone according to plan. Failure teaches us resilience, humility, and adaptability. It forces us to reevaluate our approaches, sharpen our skills, and reassess our goals. It shows us what doesn't work, so we can find what does. In the Buddhist tradition, failure is not seen as something shameful or to be avoided, but as a necessary step on the path to enlightenment. Every failure is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become better. Consider the story of Steve Jobs, one of the most renowned innovators of our time. Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, is often hailed as a visionary who transformed the technology industry. However, his journey was far from smooth. In fact, he faced numerous failures and setbacks throughout his career. In 1985, he was ousted from Apple, the company he had helped build. This was a devastating blow to Jobs, but rather than give up, he embraced the uncertainty of his situation and used it as a learning experience. During his time away from Apple, he founded Next and bought Pixar, both of which later became hugely successful ventures. When Jobs eventually returned to Apple in 1997, he brought with him new insights, a renewed sense of purpose, and an unshakable belief in the potential of the company. His willingness to embrace failure and uncertainty, learn from his mistakes, and keep moving forward ultimately led to his success. Another example of someone who embraced uncertainty is Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, Tesla, and other groundbreaking ventures. Musk's path to success has been filled with risks and failures. In the early days of SpaceX, the company faced multiple rocket failures, and many questioned whether Musk's vision was even possible. Yet, Musk remained undeterred. Instead of letting these failures define him, he saw them as opportunities to learn and improve. In fact, SpaceX's fourth rocket launch was a failure, and it almost caused the company to go bankrupt. But Musk and his team continued to iterate, learn, and evolve. They eventually succeeded, and today, SpaceX is a leader in space exploration. Musk's story shows that embracing uncertainty, learning from failure, and staying committed to one's vision can lead to extraordinary success. The stories of both Steve Jobs and Elon Musk highlight an important lesson. Uncertainty is not a barrier to success, but rather an invitation to grow. The unknown challenges us to develop new skills, broaden our perspectives, and become more resilient in the face of adversity. It pushes us to step out of our comfort zones, to take risks, and to innovate. It forces us to trust the process and have faith in our ability to adapt and learn. And it is only through embracing uncertainty that we can truly achieve greatness. We all have the potential for greatness, but this potential can only be realized if we are willing to embrace the unknown. When we face uncertainty, we are being invited to transform not only the circumstances around us, but also ourselves. Each challenge, each failure, each moment of discomfort is an opportunity to grow, learn, and evolve. By embracing uncertainty, we step into a space where transformation can take place. But how do we embrace uncertainty in our everyday lives? It starts with adopting a mindset of curiosity and openness. Rather than seeing uncertainty as something negative, we can choose to view it as an opportunity for learning. When faced with a new challenge or a difficult situation, instead of asking, "What if I fail?" we can ask, "What can I learn from this?" By shifting our mindset, we begin to see uncertainty as an invitation to grow. Another important practice is patience. Growth takes time, and not all progress is visible immediately. Just as the seed takes time to sprout and grow into a tree, our personal growth requires patience and persistence. It is easy to become frustrated or discouraged when things don't unfold as quickly as we'd like. But the key is to trust the process. Every step we take, no matter how small, is a step forward on the path of growth. When we cultivate patience, we allow ourselves the space to grow at our own pace, without rushing or forcing the process. Finally, embracing uncertainty requires courage. It takes courage to step into the unknown, to take risks, and to fail. But it is this very courage that leads to transformation. The more we lean into uncertainty, the more we learn to trust ourselves and our ability to adapt. Over time, we become more resilient, more confident, and more capable of handling whatever challenges life throws our way. In conclusion, uncertainty is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It is through uncertainty that we grow, learn, and transform. When we step out of our comfort zones and face the unknown, we open ourselves up to a world of possibility. Just like the seed that grows into a tree, we too have the potential to reach new heights, but only if we are willing to embrace uncertainty and trust the process. Growth happens when we leave behind the familiar and step into the unknown. And it is through this journey that we realize our fullest potential. So, the next time you encounter uncertainty, remember that it is not a roadblock but an invitation to transform yourself and your world. Living a life of purpose, peace, and fulfillment is not a destination but a journey. It is an ongoing process of aligning our actions with our deepest values, affirming our potential, and embracing the wisdom that guides us through both the challenges and triumphs of life. The 9 key affirmations we've discussed about self-belief: embracing growth, working hard with passion, overcoming excuses, detaching from external opinions, recognizing the preciousness of life, and embracing uncertainty are not just ideals to aspire to. They are tools to be used in our everyday lives to navigate the ups and downs of existence. Let's recap these 9 truths, as each one serves as a pillar that supports our well-being and personal growth. First, the affirmation, "I am the best," invites us to acknowledge our worth, not in comparison to others, but as a reflection of our inherent potential. This is the foundation of self-belief, and it requires a shift in how we view ourselves, moving away from the limitations imposed by external validation and instead recognizing the untapped brilliance within. Like the lotus rising from muddy waters, we too can transcend adversity and discover our brilliance. The second affirmation, "I can do anything," calls us to release the mental shackles that limit our potential. It's the internal barriers, the beliefs about what is possible and what is not that often keep us stuck. Embracing a mindset of possibility is a critical step toward breaking free from self-imposed limits. Just as a bird finds its wings when freed from a cage, so too do we find our true power when we abandon the fear that holds us back. This shift in mindset is key to unlocking our ability to achieve the seemingly impossible. Next, we affirm, "My future is bright." In life, we often face obstacles that cloud our vision and make us question our path. But just as a stormy night always gives way to a new dawn, so too will our challenges pass. Life is transient, and every hardship we face is temporary. By focusing on our potential and trusting that brighter days lie ahead, we begin to shift our perspective from one of despair to one of hope and optimism. Our future is shaped by our thoughts, actions, and the resilience we build in the face of adversity. The affirmation, "I will work hard," teaches us that hard work, when fueled by passion and purpose, becomes a source of joy and fulfillment. The journey of personal growth requires dedication, and the work we do must align with our deeper values. Whether we're sculpting a masterpiece or dedicating ourselves to a cause we believe in, it is the passion that drives us that turns hard work into a meaningful pursuit. This is where we find purpose in our actions and a deeper sense of satisfaction in our daily efforts. The fifth affirmation, "No excuses," challenges us to take responsibility for our actions and decisions. In life, it is all too easy to fall into the trap of making excuses for why we can't achieve our goals. But excuses only serve to keep us stuck in a cycle of inaction. Taking full ownership of our choices allows us to move forward with confidence and commitment. In Buddhism, the path to enlightenment requires effort and personal responsibility. It is through diligent action and perseverance that we grow, not by waiting for circumstances to be perfect or blaming others for our shortcomings. "I am getting better each day" emphasizes the importance of progress over perfection. In our journey of self-improvement, it's easy to become discouraged by setbacks or the lack of immediate results. But growth is a process, not an event. Like a potter shaping clay, each small step we take brings us closer to our desired form. With patience and persistence, we trust the journey and recognize that every day is an opportunity for improvement. This mindset is crucial in maintaining our motivation and building the resilience necessary for long-term growth. The affirmation, "I was born to do great things," reminds us that we all have a unique purpose to fulfill in this life. Greatness is not defined by fame or external validation, but by the alignment of our actions with our true calling. When we live according to our dharma, or our higher purpose, we experience fulfillment and contribute to the collective well-being of the world around us. Like the river that flows effortlessly through the terrain, fulfilling its natural role, we too must trust in our ability to create positive change by following our authentic path. The eighth affirmation, "People's opinions don't affect me," teaches us the power of detachment from external judgment. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with opinions, both from others and ourselves, it is easy to lose sight of our true self. True peace comes when we are no longer swayed by the judgments of others, but remain firmly rooted in our own values. The Buddhist teachings on non-attachment remind us that we are not defined by what others think of us, and that our worth comes from within. The ninth affirmation, "Life is precious," underscores the importance of living fully in the present moment. Life is fleeting, and the awareness of its impermanence serves as a reminder to cherish each moment. Just as a flower blooms without hesitation, we too must learn to embrace life in its fullness, without waiting for perfection or the right time. Every breath is a gift, and it is through living with intention and mindfulness that we can truly appreciate the preciousness of life. Finally, the bonus lesson, "Uncertainty is growth," invites us to embrace the unknown as an opportunity for expansion and learning. The seed, vulnerable and uncertain, grows into a mighty tree, and so too can we. When we face uncertainty, we are called to step into the unknown with an open heart and mind, trusting that the process of growth will unfold in its own time. By embracing uncertainty, we open ourselves to new possibilities and the potential for transformation. Living a life of purpose, peace, and fulfillment is not about perfection, nor is it about avoiding challenges. It is about making deliberate choices, grounded in self-belief and the wisdom of the present moment. It is about aligning our actions with our deepest values, embracing growth, and trusting the journey. It is about letting go of excuses, external opinions, and fear of the unknown. And most importantly, it is about living with intention and embracing the preciousness of life. Incorporating these 9 affirmations into our daily lives is not an overnight transformation, but a lifelong practice. It requires mindfulness, patience, and a commitment to our own growth. By affirming our worth, embracing uncertainty, and focusing on the journey, we create a life that is filled with purpose, peace, and meaning. It is through this integration of Buddhist wisdom into our everyday choices that we can find true fulfillment. Let us walk this path together, guided by the teachings of the Buddha. Every day is an opportunity to affirm our potential, embrace our purpose, and move forward with intention. As we take each step, we are reminded that true transformation begins from within. Every choice we make, no matter how small, brings us closer to our highest self. The journey toward fulfillment and peace is one that we all share. And together, we can create a life of purpose, passion, and joy. What you've just heard is more than just a philosophy. It's a blueprint for living a life of true purpose, peace, and fulfillment. Each affirmation, each truth, offers a unique perspective that, when applied, has the potential to change your life in profound ways. But the journey doesn't end here. Now that you've learned these timeless principles, it's up to you to integrate them into your own life. Every day, think about it. What would happen if you truly believe that you are the best? What would happen if you embraced the uncertainty of life, seeing it not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth? What if you could wake up every morning knowing that your future is bright, that hard work is a source of joy, and that the opinions of others no longer define your worth? Imagine the impact that would have on your life, your relationships, and your potential. Remember, as you move forward, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up every day with intention, focusing on the journey, and making deliberate, mindful choices that align with your true values. Just as the potter shapes the clay, you too are shaping your future, one small step at a time. I encourage you to take the time to reflect on these 9 affirmations and begin implementing them into your daily life. Whether it's affirming your worth, embracing growth, or accepting that life's impermanence makes each moment precious. These teachings are not just for the moment, they are for a lifetime. And the more you live by them, the more you'll unlock the incredible power within you. If you found value in this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of like-minded individuals who are on a path to transformation and growth, and I would love for you to be a part of it. Together, we can create lives filled with meaning, purpose, and endless possibilities. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And remember, true transformation begins from within. Keep moving forward, keep affirming your potential, and keep living your truth. You are capable of greatness, and your highest self is waiting to emerge. Until next time, may peace and fulfillment guide your path. If you're ready to dive even deeper, hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment of inspiration and wisdom. Don't just dream about the life you want created. Let's walk this path of growth together. Like, share, and subscribe now. And let's make today the first day of the rest of your extraordinary life.